As I was saying, we'd like to talk about four concepts. Number one, we commonly hear people say we live in an era of change, but I would like to elaborate that concept. In fact, I believe we are in a changing era. We are going to move on to another era. As when people ride the wave, you can't really see the depth of the water under your feet, and we don't realize how historical this moment in time is. From my point of view, there have been three major milestones in history. The first one, writing. Number two, the print. And number three, the internet. The first milestone brought along the expansion of commerce and trade. Trade started to be recorded. The storage of goods could be recorded. The second milestone allowed for knowledge in convents and monasteries to come out. And it also allowed for the democratization of revolutions. And the last revolutionary milestone, we still don't know where we're heading into or where we're heading for. But in any case, these three milestones have a commonality, namely they were all preceded by an interruption in the ability of storage and sustaining knowledge. Obviously, the advantage of the internet is much more obvious. The speed of light is indeed one of the advantages. Right, how did we make it to this point? Well, humankind, to get to know each other, to get to know itself, well, reality has been broken down into little pieces ever since Aristotle, and so the way we structure our context and our work has been tremendously affected, even in the medical field. Medicine has caused us to conceive the way we speak to each other as some type of workshop, or a mechanic workshop in a way. And that's really the way we seem to operate. But when it comes down to team working, if you were to ask an ophthalmologist something about your knee, I'm sure you would understand what I'm trying to say. In the last century, this book was published on cybernetics, and it somehow changed a few fundamentals, a few foundations, and that book led to the so-called systemic or systems approach. This is more important than what we tend to think. In actual fact, it gives us clues to the very causes of things. The phenomenon of merging causes the whole to have components which are not present in its parts, and therefore if we fail to see the need to forge synergies, we should not be able to make progress in valorizing ideas, and that, in my view, is a coming bottleneck in coming years. Rather than talking about the era of research, I believe we are going to enter in the innovation age, investing money in generating knowledge. But innovating means generating knowledge, and in my view, there we will find problems because the generation of knowledge will be so very quick that bringing value will be harder, or making value out of it will be harder. We are now trying to make the jigsaw puzzle again, trying to get the pieces together and finding convergence. We are now really focused on the bio-nano context, but all these four areas are starting to merge. If we pay attention to this author, according to him, we would be heading into singularity, but I don't want to talk about science fiction. I've rather focused on very clear things like Moore's law, or something that we all know. The more order we have, the faster time goes. Or we also know technology makes problem resolution more ubiquitous. This is clearly seen in hospitals. Or a pregnancy test 1,000 years ago, well, was done in a very primitive way. It was then done in hospitals, and now it is done by women, at home. apart from this law of rupture, there is an element to bear in mind. Sorry, apart from the previous law, there is another law to take into account, the law of rupture. Technology grows exponentially while other factors grow arithmetically, and so gaps appear, gaps are generated. Politicians don't know much about these gaps. In fact, they discover them last. And in fact, you see this clearly in the banking sector. Banks were very quick to adopt the information society knowledge, while politicians took some time. So the pressure exerted by the market is very important, and as I said, technology grows exponentially. Another element in the innovation era is the role of people, the role played by people. I would like to delve into this a little bit. In this classic diagram published in the book Innovation and Its Functions, that's I actually know one of the authors and have discussed these things with them. We can see you can innovate in technology and in business models. When these two axes come together in a novel way, then you find radical innovation that leads to breakthroughs, to real changes. We here see technological changes versus business model changes. Let me give you a very simple example. If I develop an accelerometer because I have the necessary technology, but I want to sell it, well, if I don't think about the possible business model to commercialize it, if I don't consider the gaps, then in the end I will only think that the only problem the elderly have is the risk of a fall, the risk of falling. But for me to determine that, I need to have an optimum system for 2 years, and I need someone to supervise it. There must be, in addition, a wireless system at home. There must be a great deal of elements. So in the end, the question is, how much is that piece of information of knowing when that person is going to fall? Right. If there are a number of scenarios